Hello, my name is Matthew, and about a week ago I stumbled into my local comic book shop looking for a copy of Batman Year One for my read along with Steve Donahue. And while I was there, I picked up this wonderful book. It's Snoopy To The Rescue by Schulz. And I picked it up for my niece. I'm going to give it to her the next time I see her. But in the meantime, I sat down and read this wonderful, charming, very funny book. And it's a collection of the Peanuts comic strips through the years. And this is thematic. So throughout the book, Snoopy has little adventures, and the Peanuts children have mishaps, and Snoopy has funny ways of involving himself. And it's all these characters that everybody knows and loves. It's Charlie Brown and Lucy and Schroeder, the pianist, and Peppermint Patty and Linus, a handful of other characters, and of course Snoopy and Woodstock. And I was just so charmed and smiled throughout this whole book. These wonderful full color illustrations, and we get such a sense of the wonderment of childhood through these comic strips, these little 4-panel, 6-panel, maybe a few page series of panels that have funny incidents, and we learn so much about these characters with brief interactions and episodes. Whether it's Charlie Brown trying to pitch a baseball, or Schroeder working on his piano skills, constantly practicing, or Lucy yelling at everybody, Linus with his blanket. And it's so wonderfully realized. These simple, confident, beautifully rendered illustrations. Like, look at Lucy yelling at her brother. She goes, "You just can't do anything right, can you? You blockhead." And then Charlie Brown walks over, sees that hair blown. "I see your sister's been yelling at you again." I'll read a few more of these. So here's Snoopy on top of his doghouse. He often daydreams and naps, and spends time at the pitch of his roof of his doghouse. And he goes, "Ah, here comes my waiter with my meal." And then he thinks to himself, "I must think of some nice way to show my appreciation." And then he gives him a smack, gives him a kiss, and Charlie Brown goes, "Well, that wasn't it." And throughout the book, Lucy doesn't like Snoopy at all. She calls him a dumb beagle. And throughout the book, Snoopy has different ways of catching Lucy by surprise, and gives her a smack on the nose, a kiss on the lips. It's just wonderful. And there's dozens and dozens of these just beautiful episodes. Like, look at that artwork. Each panel is a painting. It's Charlie Brown bringing Snoopy his food, and Snoopy refers to Charlie Brown as his waiter or his servant. He puts the food down, walks away. Snoopy has his meal and says, "What's sickening is that was the highlight of my day." So he had his meal, he had his food, it was mealtime. And Snoopy is a dreamer. he's always kind of has his head in the clouds and uh, thinks and wonders about things. And what's striking, reading this all the way through and spending time with these comics, which I've only read of a few and briefly through the years, is that these children are really complex characters. It's not a series of um, slapstick trivialities or um, total nonsense. These are characters that Charlie Brown is constantly worrying. He has concerns and self doubt. He worries about loneliness and his future and friends that he's going to make. Um, Lucy, who is shown to be this kind of character that just yells at everybody and is crabby and in a bad mood. We get moments of her experience with first love. She is trying to get the attention of Schroeder, who's always playing Beethoven. And of course, there's parts that are playing for comedy. She is trying to get his attention in more and more dramatic ways. She finally throws his piano into the tree, and it's the tree that eats kites. And that's an example of Snoopy to the rescue. So Schroeder's piano is in the tree, and Snoopy comes over dressed up as a fireman. Throughout the comic, he'll dress up as a firefighter or an astronaut. In this case, he's a firefighter, and tries to go up the tree and get the kite. But these are children that stay awake at night, worrying. Almost every character has a panel or a series of panels about worrying in bed about the next day. So that there's serious, complex emotions and messages being shown throughout this series. We have a mystery where Snoopy is getting mail from somebody named Lila, and he's worried about this. Lila is going to come and visit, and he has to hide. He hides in one of his several rooms in his little doghouse, and she comes to visit and leaves without meeting Snoopy. And when he comes out, even though he didn't want to see her, he was upset that he missed her. I don't want to spoil anything with who Lila is, but it's sweet and sad. And Snoopy is always has a few adventures where he has to go. He either is going he's going off for an arm wrestling championship or a baseball championship or a dancing competition. And there's one scene which is again just tender-hearted. Is Snoopy goes off to find his mom, and every time he goes on these adventures, he puts his dog bowl on his head as sort of a helmet. And I don't know if I can find any of the panels, but there's a charm to that as well. And while he's away, there's a few moments in this collection that were laugh out loud funny, and one of them is after we get this episode of Charlie Brown worrying about his dog being gone. He's been told that maybe he won't be able to take care of himself, maybe he's lost or cold or hungry, and he's really fretting about the well-being of his beloved little dog, little Beagle. And then we cut scene, and it's Snoopy, and it's mealtime, and he doesn't have his meal. And he says, you know, if that round-headed kid was around, I'd be eating my supper right now. Another scene that I just cracked me up was, I believe it was Linus, and there's a panel where he's worrying about a test the next day, and he goes, "There's no way I'm going to pass this test. There's nothing I can do to pass this test." And his sister says, or I think it was his sister says, "Well, you could study." And he goes, "Like I said, there's no way for me to pass this test. So studying is not an option." And he's on the bus, or he's somewhere. He interacts with Charlie Brown. He says, "Well, it's a true or false test." And Linus goes, "Well, that's a different story. I thought it was going to be in essay form." And so we get Linus going through this strategy of how to pass a true or false test. And he goes, "Well, the first answer is going to be true. And then the second answer is going to be false, to sort of balance out the first answer. The third answer is also going to be false, to sort of break the pattern." And he goes on. He goes, "At some point you're going to have 3 trues in a row, and then you're going to have a false over here." And he's very confident. Well, anyway, he gets home, and his sister goes, "How'd you do on the test?" And he goes, "Don't ask. It was a disaster." And he goes through and thinks, if I would have done the exact opposite, if I would have started with the false and then a second with the true and then had 3 falses when I had, he goes, then I would have passed. So he didn't really learn his lesson. And what else do I want to say? There was a moment, and my bookmark just fell out, where you get this, I'm sure I can find it. Charlie Brown gives incredible advice. Now I'm not going to be able to find it. Oh, what a shame. On top of seeing these children struggling to have a way of wrapping their head around the real world that's coming, they're also not stupid children. They are adaptable, and they try things. They listen to one another. They spend time thinking. And there's just a moment, now I can't find it, but Lucy, who throughout the pages contained here, she has her own psychiatry stand, and so it kind of goes towards her personality, where she'll, Charlie Brown will come and say, like, "Well, I'm lonely," and it'll say like 5 cents per piece of advice. So Charlie Brown comes over and says, "Well, I'm lonely," and then she'll say, "Well, get some friends. 5 cents, please." I can't believe I can't find this. I don't want to take up your time. Well, anyway, just a wonderful, wonderful book. I can't wait to give it to my niece. I think that she's going to love it and be able to grow up with it, and it'll just get better and better. And it also comes with a pull-out poster inside. Here's Daphne. So, Daphne and I thank you for watching. Leave a comment if you would like, and take care.